My reaction to Borussia Dortmund's comprehensive win over Werder Bremen. What a great way to bounce back after the disappointing 3-3 draw to Frankfurt. I think, really, if we can stay consistent, and the emphasis on staying consistent, then the second place is ours for the losing, right? I think we're by far the second best team in Germany. Bayern's having an amazing season. We all understand that. We all get that. But Dortmund have really shown and illustrated tonight that they can play football. And if they stay consistent, that even in the Champions League, I think they can make a case for themselves like they do year after year. I mean, again, tactical brilliance by Niko Kovac. A lot can be said about defensively, offensively. Let's start by a comment that I read from a Sky Sports Instagram post. And one of the fans was commending Niko Kovac for turning Dortmund around, making them defensively very reliant, strong, especially with the back three, and having the wing backs work up the pitch. And I agree. I think Dortmund defensively, obviously now a sixth clean sheet this season. I think it's the most in 8 years, especially in the first half of the season, is a good thing and is an encouraging thing to see. The one thing that he pointed out was that he wants to see more creative, fluid football, right? Because naturally, if you're positioned to be very defensive, on the counter-attack, you're going to be trying to expose the open field, you're going to try and catch the team off the break, which Dortmund try and do. But they're susceptible to then miscuing the ball. They're susceptible then to not creating chances. So I think if Dortmund manage to remain that defensive force that they are, right, and then also be a bit more fluid, a bit more creative, maybe include Karim Adeyemi in that attack, then I think that will make for a very attractive and very appealing football that long term will assure not only Niko Kovac's position, but Dortmund also being a very tough opponent to beat. Because I think that's where Dortmund have lacked throughout this season, is the consistency. They've showed in various games that they can play football, score a lot of goals, but then it's always on the break, which is difficult, and they've lacked chances and they've lacked converting them. And I think those two things have been at the forefront. Now, going into the things that I really enjoyed about the game, Fabio Silva, glad he got the nod. I think that was the right decision. And he did well. He really did well. I mean, one instance where he dribbled around the back four of Bremen and regained possession, passed it off to Maximilian Bay on the right side, and almost scored, especially after the rebound. It's good. Encouraging to see. I think Zeo Gurasi, now we've mentioned his name, scored. Glad for him. But it's almost like his ego is too much for the Dortmund team to handle. And he, in that situation, probably would have gone on to try by himself. So I think Fabio Silva just adds that sort of team player element to it, which is much needed right now. Nico Schlotterbeck, obviously, we've talked a lot about him recently. Great performance. Surely one of, if not Germany's best defender as of right now, and he will be sorely missed when he departs in the summer transfer window. And otherwise, very content from the usual players. I mean, Zabitzer, nice goal laid off by Nmecha, who's also making a case for himself to be in for the squad and probably even starting next to a guy like Pavlovic or Joshua Kimmich. And otherwise, solid performance. Yes, there were two instances right at the start where Dortmund lost possession, and Bremen actually had a 1-on-1 and a 2-on-1 briefly, but failed to convert. So obviously, if one of those goes in, it's a different dynamic, different outcome, different trajectory. We get all of that. But the fact that Dortmund were able to keep a clean sheet and bounce back in such style is good to see, especially after me being so displeased. So now my only hope is that Dortmund can keep up the consistency, win in the Champions League next week against Tottenham, because that would continue the momentum, and that would also indicate that they can beat international teams and they won't struggle, especially because Tottenham's having a terrible start to the season, or terrible season now. And just build on that, because that's where this team needs to go. And then the second place is very realistic, and hopefully a direct Champions League qualification if we can beat Tottenham and if we can beat Inter Milan. But it's about the consistency that we have to build on, and I'm hoping not that I'm going to post a video next week, me after a 2-2 draw against Tottenham when we were by far the better team, and me being displeased. So I'm fingers crossed that we can continue to build on here, and that we get it going.